Video highlights from Dirt Track Speedway, presented by Fast Chefs by Actual Exchange. They're not just fast, they're first. FastChefs.com. Tonight's episode of Dirt Track Speedway, talking about some landmarks. Landmark wins took place this past week. Some sanctioned, not sanctioned, but it's still pretty cool. First and century marks as well. A main conversation tonight. It's kind of a review of my son and I's trip to the Jackson County Speedway in Maquoketa, and it's a conversation of fun doesn't have to be perfect. And finally, my victory lane speech tonight is weekly is not your thing. That's okay, but you can still support weekly racing. It's all in this edition of Dirt Track Speedway. So our heat race tonight, talking about some landmark wins. Now, if you're new to the show, heat races, taking a look at some of notable things that took place over the past week in racing. Some good, some bad, some conversations. And I think a couple of good ones that took place here. We'll first start off with Caden Reynolds, who runs a micro mod, celebrated his first win of the year. He shared this on his Facebook page, and it's you'll see the globe there, so he shared it publicly. That's why I was able to do it. He picked up his first feature win at the Benton County Speedway actually last night, and thanked a few people as well. Trent Jacobson, as well as one of the big keys behind it, Team Olson and whatnot. But congratulations to Caden Reynolds on his first career win. Another first career win, not for him, but a career win in a specific class. Dallin Murdy. Thank you to Don Stokes, who let me use this picture here. Not many young kids his age get to hold $850, I think it is, there for his win, $750, $800. Anyway, he's rolling. You see me rolling. Anyway, grabbed his first stock car win Saturday night over at the Hamilton County Speedway in Webster City. So we've had a couple of firsts on the list. How about a 100th? Ricky the Racer Steffen over the weekend grabbed his win at Park Jefferson. Now, granted, I understand Park Jefferson's not in the state of Iowa by any means, but Ricky is definitely a fan favorite in East or Western Iowa, so I thought I'd make sure give a shout out for his 100th IMCA modified victory, and he earned it, I understand, in dramatic fashion, as it was a great pass for the win. I know PJ had told me about that, PJ Peterson over there. And Bob, I see you checking in tonight as well, so thank you, Bob. But congratulations to Ricky the Racer Steffen. And apparently there was a new class that was introduced, at least new to me anyway, at the Benton County Speedway last night. Gunny sack races took place, and several of the drivers did double duty. Here we are running here. Thank you to Tiffany Olson, who let me use this video that she put up there. That's Patrick Flanagan going for the win. That's Kyle Olson with acrobatics. Congratulations on that. I give him the win for the night, in my opinion. Tony Olson with a dive. Apparently a little bit of controversy with it. You'll notice as Patrick Flanagan gets about the halfway point, the bag is around his ankles, which is a funny thought in itself. And Tony Olson makes the lunge at the line, but the win went to Patrick Flanagan. They're saying that he dopes his shoes. The sack was around his ankles, so he's breaking all kinds of rules and whatnot. But nevertheless, a nice, fun evening. When I first saw gunny sack races, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then watching the video, man, I should have went down and watched it. That was a ton of fun to see things. Aerial coverage tonight brought to you by Tush Beer, the premium beer and official beer of Artifice Speedway. When you get thirsty, just grab a Tush. The newly redesigned, I don't know how well you'll see it in the picture here, the banking in the tracks now. If you look at the cars, you can kind of see the angle. I think maybe there's another shot or two that'll show it. But some new things as well. Larger pit area. Looks like the sport cars and late models. Oh, here's the one. I love this. We now have a tractor for track prep that'll be taking place, and a lap counter for the drivers on the speedway as well. And there's a good shot of the car there in the corner. You can see the banking at the all-new Artifice Speedway. Going to be working on some specials and some fun videos for the off-season, so be looking forward to that. A-Main tonight, fun doesn't have to be perfect. Now, I'm a terrible spectator. After I've been working on the media side of racing, or race director or track official or something like that since 2002. So when I go to the race, I'm constantly critiquing things. I'm constantly taking a look at, why don't you do it this way? Oh, that was interesting. But anyway, the point is I I don't watch it like a regular fan. So when my son and I decided we were going to go to the Jackson County Speedway, originally we were going to have some family photos in the Quad Cities, and we thought, well, I haven't been to Jackson County in 20 years, and he's never been there, so he was excited about that. So we went and had a great time. Not much has changed as far as the layout. The pit area is in a different spot. Brighter lights, I think, going on. The grandstands felt all the same from when I was a kid there in the 70s with my dad's car. The program. Now, there was times there was a guy behind me that was talking. Some do's and don'ts, by the way, in the grandstands. Do cheer for your favorite guy. I'm okay even with a few boos, but don't be hollering the F word and stuff like that. It is a family show. Don't do that. All right. Anyway, so he was asking a question, why aren't the cars on the track? Well, there was a couple of times I'm like, why aren't the cars on the track? Nevertheless, the program still ran smooth. So my son apparently has a bad habit that I have. He was timing how long from the checkered flag went from the A main to when the next checkered flag went, because that's how I think and evaluate things. But to be honest with you, all the times were in pretty good fashion. There was a few times I'm like, why not throw the green? Point I'm getting at all this is it wasn't a bad program. It just wasn't the way I expected it. It wasn't a perfect night. But when we walked out, we both said, man, that was a ton of fun. We definitely would come back to the track again. So the point is just because things don't go exactly the way you think it should go doesn't mean it isn't a good night along the way. So make sure that if it's not perfect, that you look at it and see if you still had some fun. Victory Lane conversation tonight. Weekly is not your thing. So one of the things that is probably going to be taking place for me, I've been working weekly the last 3 years on a Saturday night at the Independence Motor Speedway, helping out a friend of mine, Dana Benning. Plus, I love working with the crew. That being said, I'm not usually one that's always comfortable going to the same track over and over and over. But that doesn't mean I don't want to support weekly racing. So before I started becoming a regular at a track, Sundays for quite a long time at the Benton County Speedway and Saturdays at the Independence Motor Speedway, I still supported weekly racing. I just didn't support the same track. I went and traveled around, a journeyman, so to speak. One Friday night, I'd find myself in Des Moines in the State Fair Speedway when it was still open, or Marshalltown Speedway, or Davenport Speedway. We'd take trips all around, Farley. Then on Saturday nights, we'd hit Independence. We'd go outside the state. We'd go to Hamilton County. We'd go to Boone. Nevertheless, just about every weekend, we were going somewhere on a weekly racing. Hitting the same track over and over and over is fun for a while, but eventually my variety appetite suddenly just isn't satisfied. So that doesn't mean I don't support weekly racing. You can still get out and do it. And I think the same is true not only just for fans as well, but for race car drivers too. I noticed when we were down at the Jackson County Speedway, there was a handful of, I'd say, regulars that I see on a Saturday night at the Independence Motor Speedway. And they were down there supporting weekly racing, and I thought it was great when I saw those guys. Good to see all those guys as well doing that. Just love racing. So maybe weekly isn't your thing because you don't want to go to the same thing over and over and over, and you have a need for variety, but you can still support weekly racing. Get out. There's plenty of tracks. Way too many tracks, I think, at some times, but there is plenty of options. So if you can't find a race to go to, even if the weather rains you out, if you can't find a race date in Iowa, you're not trying hard enough, or you just want something to bitch about. I'm going to guess the latter is probably more important than the former to some of you. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in tonight. We will talk to you next week. I am throwing in the towel. We'll talk to you next week.